Ancient astronomers were basically the first data scientists of human civilization, Daniel. They collected vast amounts of information about celestial movements and used it to predict everything from harvests to the birth of kings. But here's what's wild. Around 2,000 years ago, a group of these cosmic experts saw something so extraordinary in the sky that they abandoned their entire lives to follow it.
That's fascinating, Ben, when you consider these weren't just casual stargazers. They were the equivalent of modern day professors with tenure, respected scholars who had everything to lose by embarking on such a journey.
You know what's really interesting? Historical records from that period suggest that this kind of long distance travel could take anywhere from 3 to 12 months, depending on the route. We're talking about crossing multiple kingdoms, dealing with different languages, customs, and serious dangers.
The financial investment alone must have been staggering. I mean, the gifts they brought, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, would be worth hundreds of thousands in today's currency. That's quite a commitment based on astronomical observations.
And here's something most people don't realize. These wise men were likely Zoroastrian priests from Persia, where they had developed sophisticated methods of astronomical observation. They had centuries of documented celestial events to compare against this particular phenomenon.
That really puts their expertise in perspective. But what made this particular astronomical event so different from others they'd observed?
Well, historical records and astronomical reconstructions suggest it might have been a rare triple conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the constellation of Pisces. This would have appeared as an unusually bright star that moved in a way these experts had never seen before.
The precision of their astronomical knowledge is remarkable, especially considering they didn't have any of our modern tools. They were working purely from naked eye observations and generational knowledge.
Exactly. And get this, they were so confident in their calculations that they basically walked into Jerusalem, the capital city of a notoriously paranoid king, and announced they were looking for a new king. That's like walking into North Korea and asking about their successor.
Oh, wow. When you put it that way, they must have had incredible diplomatic skills to navigate that situation without ending up in a dungeon.
And here's another fascinating detail. These wise men were essentially outsiders interpreting Jewish prophecy better than the local religious experts. The priests and scribes knew the prophecies, but missed the actual event happening right under their noses.
That's such an interesting point about expertise sometimes creating blind spots. These outsiders brought fresh eyes to ancient prophecies.
You know what modern astronomers have discovered? That triple conjunction I mentioned? It only happens about once every 900 years in that particular constellation. So these wise men weren't just following any unusual star, they were witnessing something truly rare.
The mathematical precision required to recognize and track such an event is mind boggling, especially with ancient tools and methods.
And consider this, they had to maintain their observations while traveling. That means making complex astronomical calculations while on the move, probably using portable astronomical tables and instruments we can only guess at today.
It really makes you think about dedication to scientific pursuit. These weren't just religious pilgrims, they were scientists following evidence wherever it led them.
Here's something else to consider. Their journey actually changed the course of history. Their warning about Herod's intentions allowed the Holy Family to escape to Egypt, fulfilling yet another prophecy they probably weren't even aware of.
So, their scientific expertise ended up having implications far beyond their original astronomical observations. That's pretty remarkable.
And you know what's really thought provoking? This whole story challenges our modern tendency to separate scientific observation from spiritual insight. These wise men saw no conflict between their astronomical expertise and their spiritual seeking.
That's such a relevant point for today's discussions about science and faith. They weren't seen as opposing forces, but as complementary ways of understanding reality.
Looking at it from our modern perspective, these wise men were essentially following the scientific method. They observed a phenomenon, compared it against known data, formed a hypothesis, and then took action to test their theory. They just happened to be doing it in service of a spiritual quest.
And their methods proved remarkably accurate, didn't they? They actually found what they were looking for, even if it wasn't quite what they might have expected.
That's right. And maybe that's the most powerful lesson for us today. Whether we're following stars or data points or hunches, sometimes the biggest discoveries come when we're willing to follow the evidence, even when it leads us outside our comfort zones.
That really brings it full circle, Ben, from ancient astronomical observations to modern implications for how we pursue truth and understanding.
And perhaps that's why this story has endured for 2 millennia, Daniel. It's not just about following a star, it's about the courage to pursue truth wherever it leads, even when that journey takes us far from where we expected to go.